Just yesterday, the two leaders of the two great powers of our age met in person, US President Donald Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping. What did they discuss, and how does this summit change global dynamics overall? Because it does, best believe. Things were so different compared to past summits. China acted and the US acted so different. You can tell that the relationship, the power dynamics, the balance of power has shifted. Let's discuss. But first, a reminder. My name is Mahfouz or NewsBaba. Check where you're watching this if you're watching this video on TikTok. If you're not on my main page with over 340,000 followers, I know, alhamdulillah, we've done well. If you're not on that page, congrats. You've been bamboozled, as Joey Tribbiani would say. You're watching a copycat page. So block and then come back to the real Baba. Sorry, I just... now, to the topic. Much was discussed behind closed doors in South Korea where these two presidents met. The focus was expected to be American attempts once more to add further trade restrictions to China in the form of huge tariff hikes that would essentially render much trade unviable. They were going to talk about this. Basically, after a certain tariff amount, it depends on what product, the threshold, what percentage will kill that trade. It depends on the product you're talking about because it depends on profit margins. But after a certain amount of tariff percentage on any product, really, you basically shut down that trade. It becomes unviable, so businesses just stop buying and then they go somewhere else that's not tariffed. The US policy for trade has been particularly aggressive in its shift to encourage protectionism. It's basically protectionism that is being championed in terms of an economic trade model by the Trump administration. Protectionism is basically when you want to say, I don't want to import stuff, I don't want other people giving me their stuff, I want my own country to make it from scratch, from the beginning, right? I want to be self-sufficient, I want to be independent, right? Independent, boss babe, not boss babe, boss state. I want to, I don't know. It's easy to say that I want to, do everything myself. It's hard to do, though, especially after half a century, that's about 50 years, of America relying on China to be its material goods provider, to be its industrial, to be its manufacturing hub, its source of cheap and efficient labor. That's what the US signed up for. That's what China signed up for. It was all hanky-dory or honky-dory. I don't know the quote. It was all going well, basically. Now, under Trump's administration, they've changed their mind. But it's not so easy to switch, right? It's like driving a freight train. You can't just start, barreling the other way. It's a train. You have to slow down, you have to stop, and then maybe you can reverse down the track. Now, China didn't take the new tariff threats lightly. That's a notable exception that China can afford to be like, did you just slap me? They can afford that. Other countries can't afford that. Loads of countries can't afford that, right? China, though, can afford to respond. They went ahead and responded with export restrictions of their refined rare earth elements. You probably heard rare earth elements so many times now, right? 80%, upwards of 80% of rare earth elements globally are refined in China. Cutting that off from the Americans, mad decision that will really cause America to struggle. That's basically a punch in the nose to American technology, American car manufacturing, anything that has a computer chip in it, anything that's digital in any sort of way, anything with magnets. GG, well played, go home. The game is over, right? The match is done. You've suffered a defeat. Go back to the lobby, respec your kit, and maybe you can go back into the fight. That was a first-person shooter gaming reference, if you know what I'm talking about. Thank you, come again, right? It's over. It wasn't looking good for the US, basically, after China responded to tariffs with their rare earth element restrictions, export restrictions. So Trump went into the talks yesterday at this point, right, with this setup to try and calm things down in the trade war that was steadily escalating, getting worse. When he was asked afterwards how it went, he said, on a scale of 1 to 10, the meeting was a 12. I'm so smart. Sorry, I can't. Laugh with me or cry. I don't know. Trump was happy, so was she. As in, so was not SHE, XI. So was Jinping. You don't say, by the way, President Jinping, even though that's his second name. Like you would say President Trump, you wouldn't say President Donald. That's fun fact. We're going on a meander. Stick with me. President Trump means president and then last name. But in China, it's reversed. Xi Jinping, his name is Jinping. His last name is actually Xi. He's of the Xi family. So you say president and then someone's last name. So you actually say President Xi, even though Xi is at the... Anyway. Because they both agreed to freeze hostile trade actions, President Trump / President Donald and President Xi / President Jinping, they're both happy. All right, they're two peas in a pod. Speaking of peas, soybeans imports are restarted. Big headache removed for the US because they had tons of soybeans. They had farmers that were like depressed because they can't sell their soybeans to China, and China was fine. China was like, I will go with other buyers. Brazil, do you have a spare? And Brazil was like, yeah, I have a lot of spare. I don't know what accent to do for Brazil. But yeah, Brazil had lots of soybean capacity. China can go in, to loads of places. But America, with their large export volumes, they really needed China for the soybeans. Soybeans are back online after this summit. So another win, right? Trump, the main wins though. Trump rolls back the tariffs. Xi rolls back the export restrictions to rare earth elements. Win, 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 win. So China can keep exporting to the US without the painful tariffs, and the US can keep importing refined rare earth elements from China for 1 year. After 1 year, I don't know what happens, right? This is basically a trade ceasefire, as it were. But this summit revealed something huge, something subtle, not sensational. To the common man or woman, it's, you won't see it. It's not bleeds, so it's not leads. Such bad grammar, much English. But it's a huge bit of news nonetheless. In economic terms, China cannot be bullied by America any longer. That's the conclusion, for better or worse. Grab a drink, sit down, take a deep breath in, and let's get into the analysis. You see, it's not like America to tariff, then back off, then tariff again, then back off. It's not like Trump to be so cordial at a summit with another power. In terms of his policy, in terms of his rhetoric, and in terms of his demeanor, if you just look at how he was acting, it's not like America. And even with China, America has not acted like that in the past. Not 10 years ago, not 20 years ago, certainly. The further back you go, the more and more different the relationship looks. Now, analysts across even the Western world are noting that the new era of humanity has entered, geopolitically speaking, the balance of power across the globe is on full display. It's new. China, many said, has achieved now peer status. Peer as in have no fear, not like that, like PEER, like meaning China is now America's equal. You can't bully an equal, right? Not easily, at least. America slapped, intending economic pressure against the titan of Asia, but China slapped back, and America buckled because the slap was hard. They rolled back their tariffs that they had imposed because the effect China's export restrictions had were painful. Entire supply chains started stalling. In Europe, which is, of course, also a rare earth element export target for China, it's even worse in Europe. We'll get to that in another video. But even in America, rare earth element export restrictions required US companies to apply for licenses from China. That went through the entire Chinese state bureaucracy to essentially comply. They had to essentially comply with the demands of the Chinese government, right? Hand over your tech details. Hand over your dual-use technology details. Hand over the schematics, the blueprints. Hand over the supply chain details. What goes where do you send it next? What company then interacts with it? Give me everything. Anywhere my rare earth elements are used, I need the whole production line. Send it. Otherwise, I'm not going to give you a license. And companies were like, what the flip's happening? I can't do that. Right? I can't just give it away. They'll open up a new Chinese company tomorrow with my whole designs. And then they'll, beat me at my own game. Because, they're the industrial powerhouse of the world. I can't just give up my tech like that. We'll talk about how Europe actually kind of did that. Very dangerous, especially for Germany. But we'll talk about that later. China basically said, tell me what you need this lump of rare earth element for. Tell me what you need that lump of rare earth element for. You don't tell me, you don't get it. It's a slowdown. It's a choking of the smooth As I was saying before, I was rudely interrupted by the time limit. It's a slowdown, it's a choking of the previously smooth global supply chain by a centralized power, the Chinese government, capable of slowing things down at such a huge scale and feeling like they can afford to do so, actually. And they did that as a weapon in this trade war. And it worked. America blinked back the tears that came with the strain of trying to take the hit that China had dished out, even though it was invited upon them because America slapped first, right? It's like declaring war, attacking, and then 12 days later being hit back so hard that you yourself request a ceasefire and fly back home. That was a reference to... Anyway, you can go home. You can go home after that sort of ceasefire, right? After that 12 days, hypothetically, metaphorically speaking. And you can say, yeah, I roughed them up, man. I roughed them bad. I'm bleeding, you say. Yeah, I'm bleeding. But you should see the look of the other guy. Don't go to check the other guy. You can just trust me. He looks bad, right? I really did a number on him. But I forgave him and I came back because I'm... Freedom and democracy. I'm just really nice person, right? I'm just the best. You can go home and say that to your citizens, but the truth is clear for those who have the time to dig, who have the time to read the actual details. America initiated the trade war. China responded. America backed down. We've officially entered the stage of parity between the great powers of our age. A bully, after all, can't keep bullying if you're strong enough to fight back. We saw that militarily with Iran, who are strong enough to fight back. So, khalas, now they're free, now they're safe, right? Everything stopped all of a sudden. Not after 500 days, not after 2.5 years, not after a massacre of, the common peoples. No, after 12 days, it was fine. Because they had the strength to fight back militarily. We see that now, similar situation economically with China. Both, of course, those examples are global South powers resisting pressure from Western powers or their outposts or their offshoots. Not because I'm anti-West, but because the presiding power block of planet Earth right now is the Western power block. Under American hegemony, the world existed for, let's say, 30 years. It's a sliding scale. It's grey. It's not black or white. It's not an on-off switch. But America and its allies, its friends and allies, ruled, right? The roost, as it were. It's over now, for better or worse. I'm just reporting to you the news. You might be happy about that. You might be sad about that. You might contest that analysis because an analysis basically is my assessment based on the evidence I have available, which means it's my opinion. But the news I report to you, of course, is just facts. And then the analysis is my educated assessment. Whether or not you respect that is completely up to you. I mean, I'm not forcing you to watch this video. Anyway, for the unbiased news and analysis without the Western spin, I'm Muffles. And I'll see you on the next one.